Okay, folks, how many of you were here for sessions earlier? Okay, then you know how this goes. Don't miss your cue. Good afternoon, Macworld, iWorld. Good afternoon. There you go. Thank you. I'm Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices. Folks, we have a lot of great software in the Macintosh universe. Here to pick out some of the gems, or two gems of our very own, Senior Editor, Senior Editor Dan Frakes of Macworld and Senior Writer Lex Friedman of Macworld. Gentlemen.
Thanks again. Thanks, Chuck. You're on the left.
I see.
Hey, we're on.
Hi there.
Thank you for coming. Hello.
I'm Lex. He's Dan.
Yeah, Lex, Dan. So thank you for coming. We are. What should you hear? Okay. I've had the flu all week. I'm deathly ill, so if I keel over, Lex is going to take over and finish for me here. So hopefully my voice will hold up. Really quick before we get into the presentation, they want us to remind you to do evaluations after this is done. You can get the evaluations on the website here, which we've got the URL up for, or if you've got the Macworld Live app, I believe that also has links for the evaluations. And you can download our slides probably later today. We still have to upload them at the bottom URL. So, how many here have read the Mac Gems column or know what it's about? Good,
Great.
A good number of you. So, what is a Mac Gem before we get into it? Well, it's really good software that's cheap, and that's what it comes down to. A lot of software for the Mac is really good but expensive, and we try to find stuff that's around $35 or less. That's the general thing, but a lot of it's like $5, $10, $15. And it's rated 3.5 mice, which is our rating for good, halfway between good and very good, or higher. And in the slides, we've got the URLs for every app, as well as the price. When we say free, that sometimes means donation requested or payment requested. The developer makes it available for free, but if you use it, they'd like you to donate something or pay a few bucks for it.
And if it's an app you're going to use every day, makes good sense to do it.
And it's interesting that the Mac App Store has really brought down the cost of a lot of these things. I would say 5 years ago, most of the Mac Gems were either freeware or stuff that was like 20, 25 bucks. And nowadays, a lot of it is $2, $3, $1, and that's really thanks to the Mac App Store bringing costs down. All right. So we're going to start with some productivity apps. And Lex is going to start out here.
All right, the very first app we're going to talk about is Fantastical.
Oh, and I should say that our slides are going to stay on the middle screen, and the left and right screens are going to show the demos we're doing.
So Fantastical is one of those apps that lives in your menu bar. It's not going to show up in your dock or anything like that. When I click on the Fantastical icon, it shows the calendars that I've hooked up into it. It's going to work with calendars that you use in the Calendar app, formerly known as iCal on your Mac. It also works with Google Calendar and several other calendars. But what makes Fantastical live up to its name, I guess, is how quickly you can add and search for appointments. In fact, Fantastical is so good that Apple has started to emulate some of what Fantastical does in the Calendar app, but Fantastical still does it better. When I want to add a new meeting, like Mac Gems session with Dan Frakes at 12:45 p.m., Fantastical starts figuring out exactly what I mean from that text, and it's showing you a live update of what it intends to do. So it recognized that Dan Frakes is one of my contacts, so I can invite him. It knows what his email addresses are and finds him from my address book. Feel free to email Dan, by the way. And it knows 12:45 p.m., puts it on my calendar. And if I considered this a work event instead, I could put this on my Macworld calendar by just hitting, I hit the slash key and then type the name of the calendar I'm after, and it'll identify down here which calendar I want it to go on. People are tweeting about me right now. But so what really, the fact that Fantastical works seamlessly with your calendars, from that Apple makes, means that anything I add here in Fantastical is going to show up via iCloud or Google Calendar, whatever syncing solution you use on your iPhone and iPad as well. And the search feature is super too. So if I want to find out, when the year in Apple presentation is, that's not what it's called on my calendar. But if I want to find various appointments, I can use that search box. And it gives you, live instant updates with all the different results that match what you're looking for.
Dan Warren does a lot of videos.
He does a lot of videos. It also can work with your reminders, so you can see it's got some of my reminders in there as well, and it gives you a running list of your appointments in this view. Their iOS app is great as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to start with LaunchBar. I'm not going to get into it too much. How many of you have used LaunchBar or have seen it before? A good number. How many of you use Alfred, Quicksilver, Butler? Good. So essentially, it's a launcher app, and what that means is that it's sort of like Spotlight. You hit a keyboard shortcut, and it brings up all matching items and it makes it easy to open them. So, for example, if I have a demo, good. If I want to type Word, it brings up Microsoft Word as the first thing. But it also learns. So if it turns out that over time I wanted to use WA for Word, it would know that and figure it out. You could also, for example, a better example. I use XL for Excel. If I type XL, it automatically opens Excel. But it can do a lot more. For example, it can run Apple scripts. For example, I've got one called Timer that I wanted to send me a message after 5 seconds, and it runs the script. 5 seconds later, it shows me that the timer is done. It can do. I can work with files. So, for example, I've got a text document here. Let's say I want to open that, let's say I want to send it to Lex. I can grab it in Launchbar. I can say I want to open it with mail, or actually, you know what? Instead of mail, let's do address book. And then let's send it to Lex. Automatically creates a new message with the file attached. And it learns as you use it. I mean, I could actually go on for an hour about this. In fact, that's probably a good session for next year, is how to make the most of Launchbar. But the gist of it is that if you like the keyboard and if you like kind of what Spotlight does, Launchbar does it 100 times more things and makes it easier, and it learns as you work.
It's faster too.
Yeah, and it's faster too. And so I would just encourage you, and if you don't like Launchbar's way of doing it, Butler, Quicksilver, Alfred, all of these are great productivity enhancers if you like the Spotlight approach to, Command Tab, type in a few things and get stuff done. It also, one of my other favorite ones, has multiple clipboards. So you press a keyboard shortcut, in my case, Shift Command V, and it shows you all your recent clipboard contents, and then you hit return to paste it in. So instead of using a separate multiple clipboard utility, you can just use your launcher.
Next up is Trickster. We just ran a review of Trickster a couple days ago on Macworld.com. It's, I think, a fairly new app. It's another menu bar app, and this is one that gives you very quick access to the apps and documents and files you've accessed most recently. It's up here in my menu bar, and when you click on it, you're going to see anything you've accessed most recently. So you can see right before we started this, they were in System Preferences getting my Mac ready to send the output up to the screens. And I was in the Notes app getting ready and dealing with my email. What makes Trickster very cool to me is the fact that you can very, very distinctly customize what kind of documents and data is going to show there. So I've got all these Dropbox application recovery data things, and I've been leaving these here for weeks for you people so that I could show you how to filter them out. If there's a certain kind of file that you don't want to have there, you can tell it to exclude specific extensions, exclude individual files, or exclude the whole folder. I never needed to look at my auto-save recovery documents because I'm not going to use them. I get rid of those, and now I can see my Mac Gems notes and other documents and applications I've used recently. You can flag specific ones. You can look at just views of your apps or just views of documents and images that you've gone to recently, and it's everything there, very quick to access, and it's faster than going over to these drill down menus from the recent items list, and more organized too.
Right, and it shows more items in the recent item list. It lets you, the filters on the left-hand side, you can see here, you can create your own filters. You can say, I just want to see text documents in my Dropbox document folders, and that's what I use it for, actually, because all my work stays in Dropbox, and so no matter what app I'm using, whether it's BB Edit or Word or whatever, I can quickly see all the recently modified documents in my Dropbox Documents folder. I actually didn't expect to like this app as much as I do. And after using it for a week or two, I started to really use it for a lot of things. So it's very cool.
It turns out Dan is a meticulous file organizer. He has multiple levels deep of hierarchy where I throw all of my Macworld articles in a single folder called Macworld Articles, which pains Dan to no end. But now I can find all the ones I'm working on immediately, and it works out great.
All right, quick question. This is one of my favorites, and you either love it or you just don't get it. But essentially what it is it is an app that lets you use your favorite text editor, whichever one that may be, to do all your text editing. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's say I'm in this forum. This is the Macworld forum. Somebody's posted about how horrible Microsoft Office 365 is, and I want to reply to it. Now, I could reply right here in the browser, but I like doing all my stuff in BB Edit. So I just select text, I hit my keyboard shortcut, and it brings up that text in BB Edit. And so I can go in here and I can say, "What? You're crazy," and which is a general forum post. And when I save it and close the window, it goes back, pastes everything right back where I was for saving or posting. You can do this in Twitter apps. You can do this in web text fields. You can do it within another document. And it essentially is just letting you use whatever text tool you like to use for typing and writing for all of your tasks. And I use it literally dozens of times a day instead of doing edits in our CMS online. And if you've ever lost text because your web browser crashed, you'll appreciate why that's a good thing. Now, unfortunately, Quick Cursor was actually the very first Mac gem I ever reviewed that was sold on the Mac App Store. And because of the Mac App Store's restrictions, it is now no longer available at all from the vendor. They've made it open source because restrictions in the Mac App Store made it so that they couldn't do what they used to do. So they've made it open source, and the download link here is actually the compiled version, the most recent version that you can download.
Next up is Text Expander, which maybe you've heard of and decided you don't need, and I'm here to tell you you're wrong. I held out for a long time, and it was a mistake. Text Expander takes text that you type and expands it into all kinds of fancy ways that you define. So the really simple stuff that works out for me well in my day job is, I spend a lot of time writing about mountain lion, and I could type out mountain lion each time I need it, but with Text Expander, I've set a shortcut so when I type ML, it instantly expands mountain lion. But I use it for the Mac App Store, I use it for Notification Center. You can also set in personal autocorrects. I have a tendency to type I, capital P, capital H-O-N-E, because I hold the Shift key for a little bit too long, and so when I type iPhone that way, Text Expander fixes it for me automatically. Thanks to Dan Frakes, actually, I learned about ways to use it much more powerfully. So, for example, if I want to link to Macworld, and I have that link on my clipboard, now I can type my shortcut, which is href. And Text Expander puts the A tags in there, puts the link exactly where what needs to go, and then puts the cursor right where I need to be to put what I want my link text to be. I also do a lot of live blogging for Macworld, where I have to talk about quotes from financial analysts whose names I don't recognize and can't spell. So when I type Tony, it puts out, I don't even know how to pronounce Tony's last name from Sanford Bernstein. But without Text Expander, doing those things and many others would be painfully difficult. And I think Dan gets more out of Text Expander than I do because of how many customized things he set up with it, but I use it every day, all day.
Yeah, there's even a feature called, now I forgot the name of it, but essentially say you've got forms at work where you've got to tab through fields and input the same data over and over. The expansions can actually include the tab character, control character, returns, etc. So you could actually autofill an entire form using one Text Expander snippet. I'll let you do this.
Desktop curtain is another one that is very useful if you have a messier desktop. Now, I had a messy desktop before we started, but some of my icons got a little bit tidied on their own. But with desktop curtain, when you've got stuff all over your desktop and you need to focus, whether it's because you need to focus for yourself or because you're going to be showing your screen up for other people to look at.
Or taking a screenshot, which we do a lot of.
This is going to be on my screen, by the way. So when I've got my cluttered desktop like I have now, I'm just waiting for them to switch back over to my Mac.
They are. We're up there.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Good. So when I hit desktop curtain, it can put whatever background I'd like there and hide all the icons. Now, if you decide that the curtain, if you decide that the curtain isn't for you, you can also choose to just have a solid, well, you can tweak what the curtain itself looks like, but you can also choose to have a solid color background.
I use the stock OS X desktop.
Right.
Because that's good for screenshots, right.
And so your icons are all still there and you can get to them, but so long as the desktop curtain app is active, even if it's hidden from view, so is all the clutter from your desktop.
And there's even a mode where if, like us, you take a lot of screenshots where the desktop curtain will hide everything but the current window so that it's right there set up for a screenshot. Again, this is another one of those where it's kind of nichey, but we use it all the time. All right, this is one of my favorites, and Lex was just asking me beforehand what it does, but Zoom is actually, it's an app for, are we on my screen? Yeah, good. That makes it easier to resize and move windows. Now, I don't know about you, but especially when I'm on a laptop with a trackpad, I hate having to go down to this little tiny corner and move things here and oopsie, I do that all the time. I go to resize a window and I end up moving it. With Zoom installed, I can just press a keyboard shortcut, and when I have that, the mouse, basically the window will follow the mouse, making it easier to move. And you'll notice that when I get close to an edge, it actually snaps in place. That makes it easier to rearrange windows next to each other. If I want to resize, I use a different shortcut, and the window just follows my cursor wherever I go. And I use this literally dozens of times a day because I just don't like the precision required normally to resize windows. And you can also do this if you want to move a window behind another one without actually selecting that window. So that is something I use all the time. And then Lex now is going to talk about a similar app that we both use.
This is an app called Moom. There's a running theme here with Zoom and Moom, I think. And what Moom does really well is make what's going to happen when I hit the green button on my Mac, it makes that answer knowable. Sometimes when you click that green toggle, if you don't have Moom installed, it's going to make your window fill up the whole screen. Sometimes it's just going to make it larger, sometimes it's going to make it smaller, but the most likely scenario is it's not going to do what you were hoping it would do. With Moom, when you hold your mouse over the green button, you get several options for what it can do with those windows. If I click on the leftmost one, it takes that window full screen. You can see these icons are sort of representing what it's going to do. And then when you want to get extra powerful, you can use this grid to drag what space you want the window to occupy, and it'll instantly reshape to take that form. You can save presets that work best for you and have it work using those. It can handle what setups you like when you've got multiple monitors hooked up to your Mac. But what I like is, like I said at the beginning, knowing that whatever I am going to that green button to do, I'm going to be able to accomplish it immediately thanks to Moom, where the default behavior is, in my mind, completely unpredictable.
Yeah, and I use this in a lot of apps. In fact, you can go to my screen really quick. For example, for BB Edit, I always want a particular location on the screen. And so if I just hit B for BB Edit, it moves it right to where I want. Same with Safari. I've got my favorite Safari size, and I can just hit S, and it puts it right where I like it. And this is another one that I actually use it along with Zoom every day. I use Zoom and Moom for all my resizing.
And every
tasks.
time he resizes a window, he then says boom. It's true.
So
this next app is another one from Many Tricks who make Moom as well, and it's the powerful version of Command Tab. I closed a whole bunch of windows before we started, but we'll see how useful it is. So Command Tab, is going to switch through your open applications. What Which does is with, I think the default command is Option Tab, is it shows all of your open windows in those applications as well. If you highlight one of them and stay there for a little bit, you'll get a live preview of it, a quick view style preview. You can also move the mouse over it and then just hit the space bar and you'll get the preview of it as well when it's possible. But it's, when you've got many windows open, you can use Command Tab and then Command tilde to switch through all the different open windows on a per application basis. But with which you get access to all of those windows in one easily navigable view, and you can use the keyboard or the mouse to go through all your open apps and windows.
How many of you have been using default folder? There's a few of you. This has been around since, I think it was System 7 point, I don't know, 1 or something like that, maybe even before that. But I've always disliked the stock open and save dialogues in the Mac OS, whether it's the older classic Mac OS or OS X. And what default folder does is it basically gives you all the features that you've always wanted in those dialogues. So for example, if I go to save this, actually I'm going to open a folder here really quick. If I were to save this document, it adds a bunch of commands. For example, I can open whatever folder I'm in. Let me back up again. I always forget what I'm going to say on this because it does so many things. But what it does is, first of all, it lets you, when you navigate to a particular folder, you can designate that folder as the default folder for this app. So from now on, whenever you go to open or save a document in, say, BB Edit here, it'll use this folder as the default. It also lets you do things to folders and files right there in the open and save dialogues. You can create new folders, you can rename folders and files, you can get info on them, you can reveal folders in the Finder, you can move them. You can add spotlight comments to things when you save them. When you're opening files, you can get previews. But actually one of my favorite features is that a lot of times when I go to save something, the folder I want to save it to is already open in the Finder. And so instead of navigating there, I can just move my mouse cursor here and it says, oh, this folder right here is my project folder. If I click on that, it automatically moves the open and save dialog to that folder and ready for saving. You can save favorites. You can access recently accessed folders. You can go directly, hierarchically menu directly to a particular folder to make it easier to find. It really gives you all these features that you really wish that Apple would add to the open and save dialogs. I mean, they haven't really changed much in a decade.
Now, this next one we're going to still show on Dan's screen, but I'm going to talk to you about it. It's an app called Menu Pop. It's especially useful if you have a very large screen, or if you use a multi-monitor display. If you're thinking about, when you have a 2-monitor setup, for example, you've got your menu bar on just one of those 2 screens, and the second screen's got nothing. If you have a very large display, if you're fortunate enough to own one of those gigantic Thunderbolt displays, if your mouse is way down here and the menu bar is way up there, it's a lot of mouse distance to travel to get to the menu bar. With Menu Pop, you can use a keyboard command to trigger the...
Or a mouse shortcut.
Or a mouse shortcut, that's right, to trigger the full menu bar directly under wherever your cursor is. So Dan's showing you right now that he's got the Apple menu, the Finder menu, and all his other menus quickly and immediately accessible right wherever he is. And it'll match every option from those menus. And I think it even shows the keyboard shortcuts too, right?
Well, yes, and in fact, like in the Finder, if I'm in the Finder, it even shows the options that are normally you have to press, like Option or Shift or Command, right there in the main menu. So you can see open a new window, and close, open with. They all show up there rather than as sub-menus or special menus that you would otherwise have to press special keys for. Okay, Bartender is...
this is an app that was built for Dan Frey.
Yes, this was built for me. So you can see in my menu bar up here, I've got maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 11 menu items. This isn't really my full menu bar. My full menu bar looks like, hold on, I'm pressing the wrong keyboard shortcut here. This is the problem with having too many keyboard shortcuts. All right, and not enough fingers. There we go. So that's how many items I usually have in my menu bar. There's what, maybe 20, 25? But that takes up too much space, and it also means that when I've got another app open, let's say Safari, a bunch of them are missing. So what I'm using is Bartender, which what it does is it puts all the ones that you don't want to see normally in a separate menu bar. So this is the Bartender bar, and these are all the menu items that I want to keep up there, but I don't need access to all the time. I just want to be able to get to them if I want to. And also apps like Quick Cursor, which don't have any other interface other than the menu bar. But the ones that I do want to see all the time stay up there. And so you can control whether they show up in Bartender's bar or in the main menu bar. You can choose for things that give notifications. For example, the Dropbox menu bar item will actually show you the little cursor when it's uploading things or downloading things. You can have it so that they just pop up when they're giving a notification, then disappear. But the big thing for me is that it keeps my menu bar from looking like that all the time, and shows me just the shorter one. And it lets you rearrange third-party menu extras, which you normally can't do. Right. So I find it really useful.
I think the next one is YouTube.
Yeah. So this, for me, I mean, Lex and I obviously work with a lot of documents. We open a lot of documents, create a lot of new text documents and documents for work. But for me, probably not for Lex, since he just dumps everything everywhere. But for me, I tend to create a new document in a folder I'm already in. And so right now, if I wanted to create a new document in this project folder, normally I'd have to open, say, BBEdit, create a new document, and then navigate to this folder and then save it. What New does is, with a keyboard shortcut, it brings up a bunch of different kind of templates. And some of these are stock ones, like a text document. Others are a review template. And I can just choose one of these, give it a name, and hit return. And it creates the new document right here in my project folder and opens the template ready for me to start working. And so essentially it lets you create a new document wherever you are.
It's pretty great. So next up is KeyQ, which is an app you probably have seen unintentionally from us just now during this presentation. KeyQ works by, when I hold down the Command key for a keyboard shortcut, it'll show all the currently available keyboard shortcuts. Now, my copy on this Mac is unregistered, so we might at some point get the license message up because it's on my Mac at home. So I'm holding down the Command key on mine, and you can see I'm in BBEdit now, all the different keyboard shortcuts I can currently use. If there are combo key shortcuts, like I'm going to press the Shift key down now, you'll see that more of them that were currently blue get grayed out because now I'm doing only my Shift Command shortcuts. And it'll show you once I hold down Shift Command and Control, there's just one thing left, convert text from simplified to traditional. But you can select any of these options by clicking on them. You can see what all of the shortcuts are available to you. And there are many themes to this. This is my favorite theme that KeyQ shows. I think you can customize your own theme with colors and backgrounds and stuff too. But it's very useful. And if you, like me, sometimes get confused about which of these goofy symbols means which thing. You get that legend there at the bottom, which I always find useful. If I sometimes need to remember which one means Alt and which one means Control, I appreciate that it's right there at the bottom of the keyboard.
And it's useful just for learning keyboard shortcuts, right? You got a new app and you want to be able to be more efficient by using keyboard shortcuts, and you don't remember where, or if you don't remember where a particular command is, you know it's in a menu somewhere, it makes it easy to find and easy to use. It's a good learning tool. Okay, a couple quick ones from me on drive space.
Free space.
The first one is free space, and what it does is it puts a menu in your menu bar that shows you all mounted volumes along with how much free space is on any of them. And it's useful for one thing, like I've got this MacBook Air has a 128 gigabyte hard drive, and I want to know when it gets low on space. And so it lets me monitor that without having to open a Finder window. And in fact, it can also alert me, and it'll highlight this in red if I get below 30% of my drive space. And so that's useful. But what I use it for, actually more than that, and I use this on my Mac at home, which I have about 6 external drives or partitions, is it lets me quickly eject any of them. I just hit the eject button and it ejects. And it's really simple, but I use it all the time. But the second one, this is the one my wife uses, and I tell my wife all the time. I go home and I'm like, this is the cool thing. You got to check this out. And usually I get the eye roll, and she's like, okay, whatever. Call me when it's another Wi-Fi network. That was the big thing for her, was when Wi-Fi came along. So she always jokes. She's like, when it's another Wi-Fi, then talk to me. But she actually likes this one, and the reason is that she's got a MacBook Air. She's got 2 external hard drives, one for her iPhoto and iTunes libraries, and the other for Time Machine. And whenever she wants to get up and take her laptop somewhere, she always hated the fact that she had to remember to go in and eject every volume and then wait for them to eject, and she wasn't sure if it was ready or not. So what Undock does is that you go in the menu bar, click Undock Now, and if you look at the bottom of the screen, it says Undocking, please wait. It ejects all volumes. It automatically stops any Time Machine backups that might be happening, and then it gives you a nice alert that says, okay, it's safe to unplug. You can unplug everything and just walk away.
We're going to switch now to internet and network related Mac gems. And the first one, if you aren't using it yet, I want you to install it as the first thing you're going to put on your Mac after this talk, because it's going to make your Mac run better and it's going to make your internet experience more enjoyable. It's Click to Flash. It's a Safari extension. There are similar versions for every browser out there, so you can install something that does what it does no matter what. But Click to Flash, its primary objective is to make it so that Flash embedded animations and movies and things, well, now it's not showing anymore, but so that those things don't load automatically. You may recall that Apple isn't always hugely fond of Flash because it can be a resource hog. It can be dangerous on your. It's more vulnerable to exploits, and it's really good at kicking up your Mac's fans and making them work harder than they'd like to. So with Click to Flash installed, you can see here, this is a very dopey use of Flash that CNN uses on its webpage. Wherever Flash is located on the page, you'll instead see that little Flash indicator, and it'll only actually load that content once you click on it, which in this case is the animated breaking news ticker. But an added bonus of Click to Flash is for when you're going to view videos. When you go to many popular video sites, including YouTube, instead of seeing the Flash version, you'll get the HTML5 version of your video, which plays very smoothly and is optimized to play well on your Mac and work great. And it has the added advantage of not being Flash dependent, and so you won't have your fans kicking up and extra Safari resources getting gobbled up too.
Yep. This is one I use every day. How many of you use screen sharing at home on your Macs? I use it to control, our family Mac in the family room, to install updates on my wife's machine. But normally, to do screen sharing, you've got to open a Finder window, scroll down, find any Macs with screen sharing turned on, click on one, select Connect. What screen sharing menulet does is it essentially puts, hey, a lot of you have screen sharing on, is it puts any Macs on your local network with screen share enabled right in the menu bar. And if I were to select Megan's MacBook Pro and I had her password, then I could go and do screen sharing right from there. I can also manually put in remote Mac. So for example, if I had my own Mac at home, if it was exposed to the internet right now, I could put its IP address and then connect to it directly. And that's all it is, really. It's just an easier way to get to screen sharing, especially if they're on your local network.
The next app is Printopia, and Printopia is a little bit harder for us to demo than some of the other apps we're talking about, but I love it and I use it almost every day. When Apple, I think, unveiled iOS 4, they talked about AirPrint, where you'd be able to print documents to any printer using your iOS device. And then when it actually shipped, they quietly took off that bullet point and said, you'll be able to print to AirPrint capable printers. I already have a printer, and I don't want to buy a new printer just so I can print it from my iOS device. With Printopia, you can set any printers that your Mac can see to be visible as AirPrint printers to your iOS device.
So as long as your Mac is on.
Right.
That's the big limitation.
So when your Mac is turned on, you'll see, let's try that one more time. When your Mac is turned on, when your Mac is turned on and you go to print on your iOS device, you'll see options like send to Dan's brother printer that he has connected to that Mac. But as you can see here in Dan's screenshot, and you can sort of see in this Printopia window too, you can do more than connect printers. So what I do almost every day for my day job, if I'm taking a screenshot of something on iOS, or if I have a photo that I want to share to my Mac, I can hit print on the iPhone and choose send to Acorn, or send to Cloud, or send to Dropbox. And it doesn't just put that document or image on my Mac. It literally opens it in the application I've specified. So I send images to Acorn every day, and then they're instantly there and ready for me to edit.
Yeah, and I use it for web receipts. For example, if I, if I purchase something on a website on my iPad, and I want to save that receipt, I just go to print, and then I say save to Dropbox, and it saves to a web receipt folder in my Dropbox account, and then it's there waiting for me when I get back to my Mac.
I love Printopia. Faves is another good one. Faves is an app that has a very specific and niche purpose, but it does exactly what it should. It collects the things you've marked as favorites on various social networks and websites. So if you use, I'm just making sure there's nothing totally profane there, and there isn't. So if you use Twitter and mark tweets as favorites, if you use Google Reader and mark posts as favorites, favorite videos on YouTube, favorite photos on Flickr, they all get assembled here, and you can search through them quickly and find a favorite, a gem of a different sort, a favorite tweet or whatever that you're trying to locate, and they're all gathered there from many different accounts. And there are just a ton of sources that it can connect to. There's the whole list there. Instagram and Instapaper are good ones too. So it's a nice place to get to all of those things, and they're also very easy to reshare from within the Faves app. But it's a slim app, and it's got just that one single purpose of gathering all those things, and it works great.
Okay, a couple quick media tools. So we're getting close to the Ripit this is one of, I know Chris Breen and I use this a lot. Do you use it?
I don't.
Okay. So if you ever want to rip a commercial DVD, one that you own, of course, for example, say you want to put it on your hard drive so that you can watch it on the plane. Say you've got kids who seem to break your copy of Finding Nemo every 2 months, and so you want to rip a copy of it to your hard drive. Rip it, you just insert the CD, or the DVD, click rip, and it puts a full copy of the DVD, including all the menus and special features, right on your hard drive. It works with almost any copy-protected disk, so they update it pretty regularly to bypass the new tricks that the media companies use to prevent you from doing this. Again, this is for stuff that you own, not so you can pirate videos. But there's a compress button you see there, and that will compress the video while it's ripping it into a format for, say, either an iPad or an Apple TV or an iPhone, so you can put them on your device and watch them on the go. And it's simple. Handbrake is another good one. Handbrake also works well and has more features, more options, but if all you want to do is just click a button, Rip It is easily the best one to do it.
Take 5 we'll just talk about very briefly, but it's a utility I use all the time when I'm playing music in iTunes. The problem I have is, if I get a phone call from work and I need to stop playing music, I hit pause and then I forget to start playing music again for the rest of the day. And then I realize at 5 p.m., hey, I never restarted iTunes.
This is a first world problem that both of us have.
So with Take 5, it's another one that lives in your menu bar. It's crashing right now. But with Take 5, assuming it weren't crashing right now, I would show you. You press a keyboard shortcut and it'll show a timer countdown. The default is 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, it'll automatically resume the music. You can see it visually when it's getting ready to start coming back in, and if you realize, hey, I'm still on this call, you can just drag the slider and extend how long it's going to remain paused.
All right. A couple quick ones. We're getting close to the end here. A couple quick ones about maintaining your hard drive. Do you want to start this one?
Sure. What size? I don't have it launched yet, though.
Oh, here I have it launched.
But what size will very quickly show you what free space or what's gobbling up disk space on your computer, and you can even delete stuff that's taking up too much space. You can remove documents that you don't want to have there.
And of course, as soon as I opened it, it decided to rescan my hard drive.
But I can see that right now I've got 2.5 gigabytes of documents on my desktop.
Do you want to go on yours?
And
let's go to Lex's computer.
But so you can figure out what stuff is using so much data, and what files should I delete if I want to free up space. If you're using an SSD, you know that SSDs hold less stuff than regular older style hard drives do. So if your storage space is at a premium, you can use what size to very quickly figure out who's gobbling up the most space on your drive and delete files that you're able to delete.
Yep. And the next one we're going to do, if you can show it on my laptop here, is a different approach. It's called Grand Perspective, and it does a visual approach. So it surveys your hard drive and then shows you what's taking up the most space. So for example, if I move the cursor over this one, it says, oh, this is the virtual memory sleep image, so I can't touch that. But down here, wow, the iPhoto app takes up a lot of space. Or this one over here is the iMovie app. Or let's see, Adobe Elements. And you can view it by file like that, or you can view by file type. You can view by folder. And it's just a quick way for you to say, wow, those are taking up a lot of space. Let me see if I should delete some of those. And these are just ways to keep your hard drive usage down, which, again, with SSDs becoming so popular and still not very big, is becoming an issue for a lot of people.
And our very last gem.
Yeah, this is something I actually didn't prepare a demo of because it's kind of hard to show. But Name Mangler is, if you've ever got a bunch of files, like say images that you want to rename, say you just took a bunch of pictures from your vacation and you want to rename them all Family Vacation 01 or 02, 03. You just drag a bunch of files right into the Name Mangler window, and it gives you a ton of options. You can find and replace, so you can say, I want to replace image with 2006 vacation. You can do number sequentially, so you can say Europe trip starting with 1 and going up one space or one number with every one, so it'll be Europe trip 1, Europe trip 2, Europe trip 3. You can you can add prefixes and suffixes, you can change case, you can set file extensions, you can remove or insert characters, like say you've got your camera always wants to put image 001 XX5, you can take out the XX5, or it's just a quick way to rename your files the way you want them. And they have a scripting language, so if you've got some complex needs, you can write your own little scripts for it and stuff. But it's of all the file renaming utilities, it's actually my favorite. It's the easiest to use, and you couldn't see that there, but as you're entering your terms and your conditions for renaming, it shows you a live preview of what the files will look like before you rename them.
Yeah, it's definitely the friendliest one of all those tools.
Yes. So we're at the end here. Two quick things. One is, if you like the Mac gems we're talking about today, we just quickly went through about 20 that we like a lot. They were by no means an exhaustive list of the best Mac gems. We do have a Mac gem super guide, which is 80 pages of great apps that are generally inexpensive. Like we said, most are under $20, and they've all received high ratings from us. We do have a Mac gem super guide that's available in all these formats. It's $3, I think, for one format. Our colleague Serenity Caldwell, who does all our super guides, she begged us to mention this, that you can get for $4, you can get it for every format. They'll give you all the formats you want. And so that is at macworld.com/superguide, Mac Gems. Again, please do an evaluation for us, and we will have our slides up later today. We tried to include enough information on the slides so that even if you didn't take notes, you'll be able to figure out which things did what, and you'll be able to remember which ones you liked. And that is it.
Thanks very
so
much.
We're a few minutes over, and you can email us here if you have any questions or comments.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.